Hello?
You are
Trying,
still,
I'm trying to get to that where I can automatically go back and forth. Okay, thank you.
uh-huh.
All right, I'd like to call the Personnel Committee meeting. Is there any courtesy of the floor? Seeing none. Next will be the review of the district attorney's personnel request.
Well, I don't know. I think you guys like me more than I like you. You keep making me come back. Well, I don't know. There really doesn't need to be much by way of your involvement. I'm not creating new spots. And, you know, I've hired a couple of people for openings that I have. I'm promoting one DA from an assistant DA to a deputy district attorney because our grant for the auto theft task force has a position for a deputy district attorney. And, you know, I'm within my budget and there are no money issues. I'm not asking you for any money. So just permission just to hire these people. Christine Murphy will be coming over from Lehigh County on November 1st. And Anastasia Moad will be coming here. It says December 1st on my original memo, but she's getting married over Thanksgiving and asked to start a week later. So I'll probably bring her on board December 8th. Any questions at all?
Yeah, any questions for the DA? I think everything's good.
Good. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
All right,
good to see you.
good. Ron, I hope you get home before your battery wears out.
Thank you.
Do you need a motion to move forward to tomorrow night? No? Okay.
Any other business for the Personnel Committee?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
So where are we with this, people? I'm very concerned about the layoffs. I've gotten a lot of calls, and not just from staff, but from clients about human services. That, you know, and I don't need an explanation of how they get paid, the money streams. I'm well aware of that, probably as aware of as anybody in that room, of how the money comes down. But it seems to me that we've got to keep those people employed one way or the other, at least until the new administration and the new council comes on, and they're going to decide what to do, whether it's taking out the loan. As I've often said, we spend money no matter what we do. And I'm a taxpayer as long as anybody probably in that room is a taxpayer. I don't like the fact of interest, but I'm not willing to shut down one of the most important departments in the county for the sake of just saying I'm for taxpayers. Either we go use our emergency fund, or we take out the loan. But you know, it's unfortunate that the people at the county, at the state and federal level, they have one job like we do: pass a budget, and they can't do that. You know, it's sad. It's very sad. And all they can do is sit and point fingers while they collect their pays. So I know I'm a little bit frustrated now because they're upset and they're concerned, and I don't blame them. They're getting mixed signals. I understand. At first, they were going to be laid off at the end of October. Now they believe they're going to be kept on till the end of the year. So what can we do as a council to get a straight answer and assure these?
Oh, it's going so good.
Well, that lasted 4 minutes, Ron. That was great. I don't think that was his battery. No. That sounded like an internal system issue. Go ahead, John. Oh, I'm not. Go ahead, Tom. Well, I'm running your meeting. I'm so used to it. Sorry. I withdraw your permission.
You there, Ron? You still there? He seems to try to be there.
I'm-
But I think that,
We lost you, Ron.
his signal isn't that strong. Yeah, it's not enough to carry through.
Don't you start.
Well, I just have one comment. I think the legislator voted on having no interest on their loans, as far as I know. I know the House, and I'm pretty sure the Senate did too, as far as no interest for a loan against, from the state.
Can we find that out before tomorrow? Like I
Yeah.
think, you know, rather than on I think, before,
Yeah.
if we're gonna make a move to take action, we need to have
I
the,
thought the Senate voted on it. I'm not sure the House did.
House
Maybe they
It
did.
already passed, yeah. I'm
The
pretty
House did?
sure, yeah.
Okay. Because I know the
I'm
Senate
pretty sure
voted
they
on it.
both did. And I'll check, because I got a call from Mr. Emmerich today, and I'll talk to him again. Because he said it was all done. All right. And anything else for
John
our?
was trying to.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, Ron, you asked a question, what we could do. When the emergency fund was originally set up and we set the, I think we targeted 15 to 20 million dollars, that money was supposed to be untouchable other than under the control of council. As you know, the current administration took 12 million of that to balance the budget. They should never have had access to that money. If that money were sitting there today, that would easily cover part of what we're looking at doing right now. That was the original intent of that fund, so changing that ordinance back, tightening it up so that council has control over that emergency fund and not the executive branch by itself. It has to be a joint commitment to do that. That money was never intended to be a slush fund, which is what it turned out to be.
I guess I have a question for the solicitor. If we wanted to do an emergency budget amendment, do we need to go through a full, like, introduction and then wait 2 weeks? Or because it's an emergency, can we take action immediately?
We would have to wait.
You gotta be on mic.
We would do it pursuant to the charter and the code. You need to have the 2 weeks for public input, review, and action by council.
Can you hear me?
Now, but I had the floor. Yeah, I think we could look at doing something like that as well, if we wanted to move any money that exists in the budget now to cover that.
I don't mean to interrupt, but can you hear me?
Now we can.
All right. Let me just say for the record, this isn't my phone. This isn't me. This isn't my router. The county, we've had this problem for 7+ years. And then the county has just dropped the ball on our ability to have these Zoom meetings. And I don't know who the hell's in charge of it now, that Mr. Barron's gone. But somebody, please, fix the damn problem. I mean, if a township somewhere can have these meetings without a problem, the county of Northampton that prides itself on all this wonderful stuff, we can't pull off a Zoom meeting because of some speaker. I mean, it's just insane. We've had nothing but problems. I'm sorry to bitch and moan, but, you know, enough's enough. Anyway, and, you know, if it's my dying breath, I'm going to keep bitching about that. But the other thing is, I just think that it's our duty to ensure that vital services are provided. And one of the most vital services, you've heard me say for years, people before you heard me say it, if we don't do human services, frankly, most of what we do, we don't need to be here. I mean, you know, and neither does the executive. To me, it's just mind-boggling. And I'm not going to blame the state. I'm not going to blame the feds. Lord knows they're incompetent. But I mean, you know, if we have a way, all I'm saying is we have a way, we have to pursue it to keep that department open. That's it. I'm sorry. I'm just taking my chance, Lori, while the speaker's working.
What are our options as far as getting something, at least to introduce an ordinance on the agenda for tomorrow? Is it too late? If we have to wait 2 weeks, we're kind of putting ourselves behind the 8 ball here.
I would, again, I'm asking the solicitor because I would say this is an emergency situation. It's not like I just want to buy extra letterhead. I think that if you're looking at a furlough and it's time limited, then I think we should do something.
Well,
Because I certainly get calls when something needs to happen and it doesn't come to the finance committee, and we need to do this building now, and we need to take action now, and will you sign off on it? And I always do, so I think this is an emergency, but it's still an emergency. People are not gonna have their services.
But the Sunshine Act relief.
Well, it's 24 hours before the meeting.
Correct, but we have already posted the agenda online, so to add something to it now would, yes.
Let me be clear. I recognize the urgency. I am not sure that it qualifies as an emergency. Now, if it is an emergency, there is Section 705 of the Home Rule Charter, and that would permit you to proceed. My position would be is they're not furloughed at this point. They are working. You have time to rectify it. It is, quote, not an emergency where they shut down and the services aren't provided. Now, one could argue converse to that as well. But you have two courses here. I think the safe course is to do it as we always do it. Sunshine Law is complied with, the code is complied with, there's public input and action by council. I recognize that members of council may want to do this quicker, but we're stuck with what the legislation is.
Madam Chair?
I'm not the chair, it's Tom, Madam Tom
I'm
Giovanni.
sorry, Tommy.
That's all right. You go ahead, Ron, you can have the floor.
I agree. I mean, I hear what the solicitor's saying, and I do agree with him to the point that if you remember, when we started all of this, it was the end of October, they're gone, the doors are shut, a pox on the Republicans and all that other nonsense. But now I'm understanding that they won't be furloughed until the end of December, which would be a new administration. So I think, first of all, we want to know, are the administration planning to furlough anybody before the end of the year? If they're not, it's not a big deal right now. If they are, it's a big deal. So we're sort of driving in the fog here and getting mixed signals along the way. So I don't know. Does somebody on council know the answer to that?
I just know that
I don't, Ron.
that HR director is here, so maybe she could shed some light on what she knows, but,
That would be wonderful.
I mean, I don't know what's being proposed, so if you, do you have information that you could share with us?
It's really quick, I'm sorry,
No,
Mr. Giovanni. It's my understanding the Senate passed I've been looking at the no interest loan. The House passed their budget again, but I don't believe it was the no interest loan at this point. So the House did pass their budget. It's back over in the Senate, from my understanding. But the Senate passed the no interest loan. House hasn't yet taken that up, from my understanding, at this particular moment. So this is the situation here, you know. You've got two houses out there. One has passed a budget. The other one refuses, and the one has passed no interest loan, and the other one still hasn't done that.
Yes, you may.
Mr. Executive, when does the county have to make the decision to furlough? What's the date?
So the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, requires 30 days notification to the union representing the members of the collective bargaining unit. Before a furlough occurs, the individuals being furloughed have to receive a 7-day notice. That notice has not been issued yet.
But you did issue the 30.
We did issue the 30-day, correct, but we have not issued the 7-day notice, and as of today, we don't intend to. But we are very closely monitoring our cash position, and we believe, as I've stated publicly, that we can get to the end of the year without having to furlough anyone. My concern is January 2026. We're watching that very closely. And as we get there, I'll let you know as we get closer to that time period. As I've said, the last thing we're going to do is furlough employees. What we're trying to figure out now is if we can turn some of the spigots back on for some of the agencies that are being deferred.
So generally, we'd be pretty safe to say that if no ordinance is introduced to fund, if something were to happen in the next 2 weeks, we probably have 2 weeks to introduce and then another 2 weeks to pass that ordinance, saying that, you think.
Right. So the trick is, it's budget versus cash flow. And so, you can change the budget, but if the cash flow changes, it doesn't matter if you amend the budget and there isn't the cash to do it. And one of the concerns that we have is very often there's believe it or not, there's an outlier bill out there, and this happens all the time, where a $2 million bill will come in from somewhere that no one was expecting it, which would then change the estimates, which, Mr. Dunstein, our budget director, will tell you he's got some margin of error built into his projections. But we are cash positive into January and this is, and just so everybody's clear, this is without a state budget. Sure. So, hopefully by December, they will have passed their budget and we'll be back to that 28 to 29 million to the good in our cash position.
Now, I'd be all in favor of at least seeking a loan from the state and then dealing with the concept of paying interest later, at least getting the money. But am I safe to assume that the $8 million for our financial stabilization fund will always be there, regardless of cash flow situations?
Well, it will always be there unless we use it, but it's there now. And it's my intention not to use it because, there are responsibilities that we do have that are our core functions. And one of those is to keep the court system functioning. I mean, it's not something that any of us think about usually when we're having these kinds of conversations, but our primary responsibility is to keep the court system functioning. And that includes the Juvenile Justice Center, and it's a policy question as to whether we should even have it or not under court administration, but it is under court administration. That's a fact of life. And so I'm just using that as a potential pain center for us in terms of cash flow, so that we have to guard all of those functions, and that's what we're using. We're conceiving the stabilization fund for now, to make sure that our court systems continue to function. Because that's our core responsibility. And that includes the row offices, the criminal division, the Protonotari's office, the clerk, recorder of deeds, and all of that stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mont, talking about January, that would begin to point to a tax anticipation note option, which you could borrow, you could get approved for, you could have it all set up to go. You don't have to take the money until you get to the point where you actually need it. Is that something you're working on now in anticipation of setting up for a January or February-ish?
If I continue to see red numbers for January, I will make sure that our next county executive has the option of issuing the tax anticipation note the day they take office.
And
I'll make sure it's all teed up.
What is the projected burn rate for January, February?
It actually turns, so January's around January 17th, it turns red, and it stays red for the rest of January. And then, so again, this is without a state budget. So, I mean, if we get into a place where there's no state budget by February, there will be a tax anticipation.
Right, you got bigger issues than that.
Yeah, much bigger. We actually have, continuity issues across all of our responsibilities then. We're trying to contain it now to the Commonwealth's responsibilities, and make sure that our responsibilities are met. And the other thing I'm trying to do is make sure that the next government that takes office here in January is in a position to function before its tax receipts start coming in March.
Thank you.
Welcome. But back to, giving people the certainty that they're not going to be furloughed. I believe that we are not going to need to do that, but that could change. And I can't act in good faith and promise people that that will not happen. That's why we issued the 30-day notice, because I can't promise it.
Anything else for the executive?
Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Seeing nothing, I'll ask for adjournment. Yep.
Yeah, I'll call the Finance Committee to order. Start with courtesy of the floor. Anybody care to address the committee? Seeing none, then we'll move on to review of Administrative Code Article 13, Herman Goldner Company, Inc. Mike? Thank you.
Good afternoon. So this is for a major rehabilitation of the cooling tower at Graysdale. We solicited 3 quotes for this work, the lowest being Herman Goldner. So we would like to award a contract to Herman Goldner through the existing CoStars contract that they have. The scope of work would consist of lining the cooling tower with a 2-part epoxy coating to extend or improve the corrosion resistance and extend the durability of the cooling tower. We'd be replacing the PVC fill bundles inside the tower, installing a new motor, a new gearbox, and replacing essentially all the spray nozzles within the tower. So it's a pretty substantial rehab project for it.
Mike, what are the, can you explain option A, option B, and
Yeah, so option A, we intend to add both of those options when we award this. Option A is just basically you're extending the limits of the interior of the cooling tower that gets that epoxy coating on it. So you're getting additional durability and corrosion resistance with that option A. And option B, there's 268 nozzles inside the cooling tower, which spray the cold water onto the cooling fins in there. So with that option, we'd be replacing all of them just to get all brand new equipment in there as well.
so you intend on actually executing both those options in the contract?
Yes, correct.
Any other questions on this?
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Mr. Milley, why was it decided to be a competitive negotiation instead of a sealed bid, competitive bid?
If we bid it competitively, we would have to hire an engineer to prepare the specifications and give them a contract, probably $15,000-$20,000 just to design it. Whereas, with this, we could just prepare a relatively simple scope of work, bring it to 3 contractors that have knowledge already of the work that needs to take place, and just solicit quotes directly without having to pay those additional costs for engineering.
Were all 3 contractors CoStar approved?
Yes. Yep.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for the Finance Committee?
I have
Lori?
2 things. One is, I did ask last month or a couple weeks ago to please consider having a conversation about the opioid trust money and where we have our money, and I don't see it on the agenda, so I'm not sure what happened with that, but I had some concerns about what was being spent and also where it is being held in the budget, so.
Well, it didn't make it onto the agenda. I thought we had moved that forward for that. So we'll just capture that for the next Finance Committee to the opioid trust. Okay. We'll add that. Anything else?
Well, this kind of came backwards, but years ago, we put in place a first responder ordinance and a tax
Tax break.
for them. And I thought the language was pretty clear, but recently, one of the first responders came and we were talking about, they came to talk to me and they were discussing what they had to do to get it. And it appears that the language that they're being given is very different than the ordinance that we passed. And so I guess I had a question or a concern, like, if it very clearly states how they are supposed to be getting this money and what conditions they need to meet, why the finance department changed those. And so I know you don't have an answer, but I think it would be nice to get an answer from somebody, because apparently, I believe the language, I adopted the language from Dauphin County and Bucks County, and it clearly stated that they had to be an officer in good standing in their unit, and they had to be signed off on by the chief. But apparently, they only have to do so many runs a year, and then that's it, and that's not what it states. So, I foolishly thought that if we passed an ordinance, that it stands as it's written, and it doesn't get amended unless it comes to us. But thought I'd bring that up because it's concerning, because what's stated in the documents that they get is conflictual to what is in the ordinance that we passed.
What is it that you'd like?
I'd like to know who decided to change the parameters and why. I mean, I don't think that every fire department or every EMS squad has their own definition of what that in good standing means. And that's the whole point of that, was to recognize their authority in dealing with their personnel. And so I think that should stand. And I don't think we were in a position to determine what that was.
When was that passed? I'm sorry.
A couple years ago?
2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, it was definitely
probably.
before I was on. That's why I was asking. Okay.
Because I think the first year it got passed, and then somehow there was some issues there about pushing it out, but it seems like people are getting it, and they know how to ask for it or how to send in the information, but then, again, my concern is that, A, people are getting it, that enough people that are applying for it are getting it, and like, obviously if they're not qualified, then they can't, but that's between them and their chief. If they're not meeting the standards of their squad, then they don't qualify. But if we said they're the people that determine whether these guys get or ladies get it or not, I don't see where we get to say you get to be on so many calls and that's it. That's not what we stated, and that's not what I asked for, and that's not what it's in the
But
ordinance.
my understanding, what you're saying is that then those that are applying are being rejected by the county for the qualifications?
No, I don't think that's it. I think it's a matter of who decided, when we pass an ordinance, that we're just gonna change the language and do what we want. And, I don't know if people are being rejected or not, but I'll say, I'm pretty peeved about it. Like, we as a body get to pass an ordinance, and so if I pass an ordinance saying the cover of this book has to be blue, and all of a sudden, well, we're just gonna make it pink, like, no, it says it's gonna be blue, and we don't do things that trite. This was supposed to be something to help out these folks that are volunteers, right? I just think it should be the way it's supposed to be. And so I just want to know why it got changed, who made the decision that it should be changed, and I want it, I guess, changed back. And so whatever process they're using to delineate these funds, just change the paperwork. Because that's where it is. It's in the paperwork they send to the chiefs to make sure that they're getting the stuff.
It's the paperwork the county's sending to the chiefs.
Yes.
Somewhere between this ordinance and the chief receiving it, there's a translation of that language that is not what you believe we intended.
Yes.
So then what
Mr. Chair?
What I'll request is, based on your, is for the next finance meeting, that we have a copy of the ordinance, that we have a copy of the information that's being conveyed to the local chiefs, so that we can see what that language is, and then, I guess it resides within the finance department. We get someone to bring that forward, and then we can have that conversation at that point. Lori, does that satisfy your
For today.
inquiry? Yeah, I want to make sure I captured
Your-
your inquiry correctly. And then we'll also have an update on the opioid trust information. And you can detail that more specifically with the clerk if,
Well, and I think when Brandon gets here, we'll have to discuss it too, but it's my understanding that those funds are supposed to be kept separate accounts, separate from the budget, not infused in drug and alcohol, not infused anywhere. They're supposed to be freestanding accounts, so I'd like to make sure that that's happening, as well as how we're spending it.
anything else for the good of the Finance Committee at this point? Ron, you were trying to say something. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think that you answered it. I was just curious who was responsible for administering the program at the county and its fiscal. And maybe the person that actually, if somebody in fiscal was assigned that role, they could come and sort of give us a refresher on how it's being administered. That's all.
Thank you.
If nothing else, then call for adjournment. Thank you, everyone.